Hey, Anna here from GeekingWatts. So, self-confession, I totally geeked out on the Zwift Racing League team time trial that we had this last week. It was just a crazy team time trial course. So, not only did you have New York, which is just super hard in general with all the ups and downs, there's like no flat road whatsoever, but then you threw in the QOM and KOM like halfway through, and so that was just super brutal. And how did you do it? So I think I got some parts of our team strategy right, and then having a look at some of the other DSs out there for some of the higher placed teams, and also looking at some real life team time trialing, I can see where some things could be improved. But first, I want to talk about how we can kind of compare this to real life, and looking back at the Innsbruck team time trial at the UCI World Champs, the Mitchelton Scott team, and comparing here to the Finesse Rockets team who won the America's East category by quite a bit, and talking to their DS, they had a very similar race strategy on the climb, which I just wanted to cover first off. So this is how they were doing the climb. So what they've done, they've set, I think they're following S Bishop here on the front, and she has been pace setting, but it looks like she's just they had a really strong rider here in Paige Bolt, and they picked a rider who was going to pace set the climb. So they all bunched in behind that rider, and that rider just dragged the team up the climb, setting a certain pace that they were going. Looks like it's around that 5 watts per kg up the climb. So that seemed to be quite a good strategy up this climb, was to find your good climber, have them get on the front, them set the pace, and everyone knows that pace, and everyone tucks into wheels and gets right on behind them. Now, what is interesting is this is exactly what Mitchelton Scott did in that UCI Innsbruck World Championship. So if we look here, now this is a little bit of a difference between virtual racing and in real life racing, which I cover in the article I've written accompanying this video. So on the back, you've got Jack Bauer, and you can just see they're hitting around 13% on this climb. It's pretty brutal. They're all out of the time trial position. Jack Bauer just got out. He's starting to swerve across the road. Now, what I do want to show here is pretty quickly he gets gapped. And then this is what happens in real life that you just don't get in Zwift, is you can see the body language and hear the breathing and just tell that someone is dropping off the pace. What you start to see is those riders up front, again, they've got one guy off the front pace setting, so similar to what we saw with the Finesse Rocket strategy. You always have that one person off the front setting the pace for the rest of the team. It's just too hot for Jack Bauer here. But what you'll start to see is those front group of riders, they're going to start looking around. You can see there, one person just look there, another look there, and another look from another rider. So they're all starting to look behind. And this is what you don't get in Zwift. You don't have the ability to look around and check your riders are okay. So these guys will end up jettisoning off Jack off the back of this group. He just can't hold on for the climb, which is disappointing because they need him for the flats. And that's what we found in the racing on Zwift. You needed to keep those strong TT riders with the main group so the pace couldn't be too hot. But in Zwift, this is where a DS is so important, because you can't actually turn around and see those riders dropping off the bat. You can see the seconds, but sometimes you're just in such red. You need to be able to hear the riders, and you can't actually really hear them like you can in real life on the road. So DS saying, hey, someone's dropping off, has been really important. The second part I want to cover on the team time trial. So first was to have a pace setter go up the climb, set that pace, and have everyone tucking behind. You can see it works in real life, and you can see it works in Zwift as well. Now, one of the other differences, and this was with the men's team, Saris the Pro's Closet, and this was around the strategy on the rolling terrain. Now, when you look at the UCI World Champs in Innsbruck, it was slightly rolling terrain, a bit flat, but everyone just stayed in that straight line formation. And it's a little bit easier to do in real life because you can see the rider in front, you can kind of see the momentum shifts, and you can sort of get on their wheel a lot easier than you can in Zwift. What Saris has decided to do for this race is they haven't followed that sort of straight line order format, which they usually would on a flat course. They're usually really good at that. They've followed what's I'm kind of calling a momentum ride here. So here you can see what their DS on the left, Holden Kamoa, is doing is he's just watching for any riders coming through on these downhill sections with momentum and basically saying, but it's your turn, you get on the front. And so what they've got is a team here that's all riding, I'd say all disappear, they're all riding really strong watts per kg. So that's the sort of downside of this sort of a strategy of following momentum, is you don't really get a break. And you can see from some of their power profiles, it was just nuts how fast they had to ride this whole thing. You can see their orange numbers are all up around 7, 5, 6 watts per kg. It's pretty brutal. But there's not that straight line formation. See, a rider's come through here. He's got the momentum, so they've just let him carry on. Then you can see the next rider, Ryan Larson. He was just kind of coming through with a bit of momentum there. So all they're doing is, and they're gapping a little rider off the back here, all they're doing is sort of following momentum and taking turns on the front. No set order, no straight line. Really, really have to make sure all your riders are strong, and you've got to make sure all your profiles, power profiles of all the riders are fairly similar. You can't have someone with a 5-minute power of 400 and someone with a 5-minute power of 200. It's just too much of a difference for that person to be able to cope. But that strategy seemed to work pretty well. They ended up coming third in the Premier Division. So yeah, interesting strategies for that team time trial. Definitely have a pace setter on the climb. Go with a momentum rolling strategy so you can make the most use of the pack momentum on the downhills. Give it a try if we have another course like that. It was pretty crazy. I hope we do have a course like that. That'd be awesome. But thanks and good luck for the racing this week. See ya.